Welcome to the SITREP. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the SITREP, the summary for the day of 552 for the 29th of August. And let's start off with some news about Prigozhin. So basically, his official Telegram channel, the his press service has confirmed that he has passed away, and they basically posted a post talking about where people can pay their final respect. Basically, is at the Prigozhin cemetery. So that's all for that. This is just a small little thing because we haven't heard anything from his official Telegram channel. So this basically shows that he's officially died. So then we have news. The Ukrainians have launched a drone strike here just off Estonia, very far away. This distance is super far away, and anyway, it's at the Pskov air base. So this air base here has been struck by Ukrainian drones. According to Russian army, a pro-Russian source, they say that more than 21 UAVs flew one by one after another, all the way from Ukraine to this particular air base, which is supposedly it should be safe, safe from strikes, but Ukraine want to make a point to show that it's not safe from Ukraine. So this drone strike is even further from Moscow, and basically pro-Russian sources, basically this from I put it as Ryba, but actually Ryba is simply forwarding sources from multiple different channels. So everybody just cannot believe this had happened. And 24 drones flying 664 kilometers in a straight line, or a curve according to the curvature of the earth, basically hitting this air base. 2 aircraft initially has been reportedly damaged, and then the Ministry of Defense reported that the drone attack has been repelled, according to the governor of the Pskov region, Vedenikov. And preliminary information, they said that there is no casualties. After that, information came out confirming that 4 IL-76 aircraft has been damaged in this drone attack. Footages have actually came out, and they are basically irreparable because it's totally burning and smashed. So this is sincerely just off Estonia. It's like just off Estonia. So this is actually quite outrageous in the way how this drone strike managed to actually been achieved. So and there are also claims that the drone strike actually flew all straight through Belarus. So this calls into a lot of question about the Russians' capability in terms of air defense and drone defense. So very interesting. Not just that, the Ukrainians also launched yet another attempt to land over at Olenivka. So this Ukrainian speedboats go through around the waypoint at Snake Island and towards Olenivka, but they have been spotted and actually attacked by Russian aircraft. So information reported by the Russian Defense Ministry say that in the middle of the night, at midnight Moscow time, the Black Sea Fleet Air Force actually took out 4 military boats, high-speed military boats of the Ukrainian Special Ops, and they estimated up to 50 people were killed in this attack. Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported with more information. They detailed that at least 9 speedboats was in this attack by SBU, is a main intelligence directorate. Forces as well as probably special forces heading towards Olenivka. So they actually moved out from the port of Vikovo, and Vikovo is here, and actually from there they actually moved towards Snake Island, and then towards this Olenivka region. And this is, so they claim that it's coincided with some Remembrance Day or for the defenders of Ukraine and stuff like this, as well as to show that they still can do amphibious operation on Crimea. However, they were detected. Sukhoi 24, Sukhoi 29 was launched against them, and and they were struck by cluster bombs 60 kilometers west of the Olenivka. So basically the rest actually withdraw, so, and then back to Snake Island, and then back to where they came from. So this shows the importance of Snake Island as a base for the Ukrainians, as the Ukrainians are able to go out of the river and then launch an attack towards Crimea. And yeah, so that's why one outpost where they can defend their waypoint. So but the interesting thing is that even though it's in the middle of the night, the Russian actually detected them and actually launched airstrike against these vessels. I find that pretty interesting. So anyway, this is the time you should press the like button and subscribe, because these are all boring news, and yet you are still here, so you should subscribe. And anyway, for those that find this map very interesting, this is the custom map, DPA's custom map. I only use this occasionally because yeah, it takes a bit more effort to prepare, and there is this also, the points, the X, this point actually has been added due to advice from people trying to know exactly where they are in Ukraine. So you can actually see, yeah, we are now in the Mykolaiv region, and you can see the cross, we are in Mykolaiv region. And so there is a geolocation of a Ukrainian flag. So Ukrainian flag has been raised at Dachi. So this is this area here is still controlled by the Ukrainian forces on the southern part of the Antonovsky Bridge, and this is this raising of the flag is outright provocation against the Russians, showing that we are still here, what are you doing? And yeah, so they are still there, and what is the Russians doing? They can't do shit about it. So that's all from the Kherson front. There isn't any more of this Ukrainian amphibious operation being reported, mainly just that geolocation. We move into the Zaporizhzhia front. So this is the Zaporizhzhia front, and so at the Zaporizhzhia front, we go to the Orekhiv sector. This is the Orekhiv, and at the Orekhiv sector, we have continued Ukrainian offensive operations over in this region here. I want to move to this color. So the most significant information is actually over here at Verbove. So there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at this forest region here, and they were bombarded by Russian artillery. This is geolocated by Deep State UA, and this shows that the Ukrainians actually have arrived at this location. They managed to come to this position, and this is actually also reported by I think Surya Maps. They say that the Ukrainian forces managed to cross the main defense line and reach the outskirts of Verbove, and then the Russians managed to repel the attack and push them back to the other line. But I think this is actually not the right way to actually report this. It's not the right information, because if you actually look at the defense line over here, the trench line is very interesting. The trench line for the Russians is actually here along the road, and then they have another one starting all the way from here and then stretch all the way towards the southwest. In between these two, there is actually no trenches. So the Russians probably expected that this area is not so easily penetrated. Maybe they have some guard posts around here, some additional smaller trenches along the forest, and expected to be able to hold this position. But given because the Ukrainians have been concentrating their attack, they are doing very huge infantry attacks. The Ukrainians are able to attack all these positions. They manage to shell all these trenches and force the Russians to withdraw from all these positions. And as the Russians are unable to hold all these forward positions, as the Ukrainians were attacking them or shelling them, they actually can rush through. They can just drive very quickly along the road, and they will be able to penetrate through. As you can see, the trench line is actually a little bit of a distance. It is, I believe, rifle distance. There's probably some Russian positions. But if you can suppress these positions, the Ukrainians can actually drive through very quickly, and that's probably what they did. And all the way to this forest region, they probably come here, unloaded, and actually walk by foot towards this in this forest region to entrench themselves. And the Russians probably have positions within the forest and around here in the forest line. And but probably they are not so close. The Russians probably caught by surprise. They basically just use artillery strike. And so this is not exactly a breakthrough in the sense of they broke the defense line. Is rather they actually just went through the very one hole that that hole is very big. So they went through that big hole and managed to come all the way to Verbove. However, this can also be a very big weakness. So because the Ukrainians can basically just penetrate and push the Russians out in this direction. But anyway, that's the main big news, I believe, over at the Orikhiv sector. And the fighting is reported towards the Verbove. This is acknowledged by the Russian Defense Ministry and Deep State UA. And there is also another big development is over on the eastern part of Novo-prokopivka. The Ukrainian forces has been geolocated to be at this position. According to the information by Deep State UA, they show that the Russians launched a drone, suicide drone at Ukrainian infantry along the forest line around here. And so which also shows that the Ukrainians have actually penetrated further deeper towards the main defense line along here, just off Novo-prokopivka. So the Ukrainian force continued their attack here, and this attack has been acknowledged by Ryba and as well as Surya maps. But over at Robotine, situation is not so rosy for the Ukrainians. They are still stuck at Robotine with fighting still in the southern part of the town, with the Ukrainians using small squads of infantry trying to secure the town, the southern part of the town, but they are constantly bombarded by Russian artillery, according to pro-Russian source Ryba. And the entire situation over in this sector has been getting more and more critical for the Russians, and as a result, we have information from Myro Shenikov, the pro-Ukrainian source, reporting that the Russians are deploying additional reserves in the settlement of Novo-prokopivka. Okay, I should change another color. Novo-prokopivka, and this is actually Ilchenkove, Verbove, and also over here at this fortress position of Ocheretovate. So anyway, so basically is a strengthening of this entire area. The units allegedly are the mechanized and the airborne units, and there is also information that these airborne units are not supposed to be from this front line. So the pro-Ukrainian side are claiming that this is actually an indication that the reserve forces that is currently in this position is insufficient, that they are actually calling units from other fronts to come and reinforce, but this cannot be corroborated. So that's all for the situation around Robotine. There is fighting being reported at Novo-prokopivka. This is Deep State UA acknowledging the geolocation by Dnipro Osin. So because of this geolocation, Deep State UA actually reported that infantry has been spotted east of Novo-prokopivka, and this is where they actually talk about this. Actually, this is wrong information. This is Novo-prokopivka. Oh my god. So this is wrong information. Ignore this. This never happens. Okay, forget it about this. Moving on to over at Velika Novosilka sector. Over at this sector here, there is some development mainly over on the western part of this Staromayoske. Over in the Prione region, despite there's no fighting over here, the fighting actually occurs in the northern part of Prione, particularly actually in the north and northeast. So Russia's position previously was around like this, along this water body. The Ukrainians have seemingly captured this entire area here. The Russians have been forced into a withdrawal, probably to the next line of defense, probably along all these forest lines. And the reason is because we have geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at this position and this position. So this at these two positions, we shows that the Ukrainians may have already captured at least this forest line and this forest line region. The Russians may still have these lines, maybe, but maybe very unlikely, you know, at this moment, given the tide of war over at this region here at the northeastern part of Prigozhin. And over at the Uruzhane region, we have geolocation just north of Zavidne Bazania on the other side of the river, of the Mokryali River. The video shows that the Ukrainian forces capturing some Russian forces in this forest region here in the southwestern part of Uruzhane. This shows actually two major things. The first thing is that it actually confirms that the Russians actually still have positions around this area here, which means they did not withdraw entirely south of the river. So this is number one. But number two is that the Ukrainians actually are also conducting an offensive operation to clear out the Russian forces in this area here, and it seems to be a little bit successful as the Ukrainians actually push this in this area here. It's unclear based on this footage that the Russian forces in this forest here is entirely cleared out, because while on the map it looks small, but actually if you try to imagine the size of a person, this entire forest is still pretty big, and it will take some time to clear up this entire force. Not to mention there might be possibility that there might be some kind of crossing around this area here that we are not seeing from this dated satellite imaging. Otherwise, we actually have no more fighting being reported around this area here in the Uruzhane and even towards Staromlinivka. So that's all from the Velika Novosilka sector. We move into the Donetsk front. This is the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, we have reports of fighting north of Shevchenko. Surya Maps reported that the Ukrainian forces actually make some progress north of Shevchenko, managed to capture this area here. But that's all we know thus far. And moving on at Marinka region, there's fighting reported at Novo-Mikhailivka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And then there is fighting reported at Marinka as usual. Myroshnikov says that the Ukrainians have tactical success in the Mariinsky region. However, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians are actually on the offensive in Marinka. So that's all that's pretty usual over at this western part of Donetsk city. In the Avdiivka front, this is the Avdiivka front, we have fighting. Looks pretty major over at Nevelsky. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that the 59 Mechanized Infantry Brigade attacked Nevelsky, and this is actually confirmed by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, talking about the 59th Brigade attacking at Nevelsky. So the Ukrainians are making this push in this area. And Pervomaisky fighting has been stopped. We have no reports of fighting over there. The Myroshnikov have this very vague sentence about fighting in the east of Avdiivka. So take that with a pinch of salt, and that's all from the Avdiivka front. Over at the New York front, there's no fighting here, but interesting thing is that there is geolocation of Russian forces at this particular position here, this particular house or building over here, just off Shumi. And Surya Map says that this position is this video is actually Ukrainian shelling Russian positions, and in his mapping this was actually under Ukrainian, but in DPA's mapping this was actually in some kind of gray zone, and we have just moved the front line to show that this is actually Russian control. So this pretty much is a very dead area, so don't expect too much from this area, because strategically this is a very unimportant position. We move into the Bakhmut front. So this is the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, we have fighting reported at Ozeryanivka. The Russians are conducting offensive operation at Ozeryanivka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Kupiansk, we are also seeing this counterattack happening over here according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Ryba. So Ryba reported the Russians managed to expand the zone of control near the village and push the Ukrainians back towards the canal. So take this with a pinch of salt, of course. But fighting is still ongoing over at Kupiansk. Further up north, the Ukrainians are still on their offensive over at Andriivka, according to Deep State UA, as well as inside Klishchiivka. So Ryba reported that the Ukrainians managed to reach the middle of the village before they got pushed back, and then Deep State UA simply mentioned about fighting at Klishchiivka. So in a general term, so Ukrainian forces attacking Andriivka, and they are still fighting in Klishchiivka itself. So in the middle of the village probably is around here. So probably there is a force that managed to push to the center and then push back. So but take this with a pinch of salt, because we are just simply reading the sentence as per written. So that's all from the southern part of the Bakhmut front. In the northern part, we have fighting reported at Bodanivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russians probably making some skirmishes in this area here, but nothing significant to report. And that's all from the Bakhmut front. We move into the Siversk front. We have nothing in the southern part. The main action in the Siversk front, this is Siversk, is over here at below Horivka in the Luhansk region. Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Maroshinikov, the pro-Ukrainian source, both reported fighting at Bilohorivka. So the Russians probably are still pushing over from this industrial area here, but that's all we know. We move into Kreminna. This is Kreminna front. Kreminna front is here. The Ukrainians are still on their Kreminna offensive, with fighting reported in the Serebransky forestry, according to Russian Defense Ministry and Maroshinikov, over at Dibrova, as well as at Yampolivka, all reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. The Yampolivka one is pretty new. We haven't seen Ukrainians attacking around this area here for a very long time already. So this is a pretty new report from the Ukrainian side. So so we shall see how this goes. The Ukrainians are still pushing, but we never see any changes in the front line in this area here. We move into the Svatove front. This is Svatove, and this is Svatove front. At the Svatove front, there is some new developments over at Novo-Yehorivka region. This Novo-Yehorivka, allegedly under Ukrainian control. The Russians are allegedly attacking from the north, from the north, and probably still directly to the village. In the northern part, this reported by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reporting fighting in the north of Novo-Yehorivka. And they say that the Russians attack with the support of tanks. And then otherwise, Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Maroshinikov simply reported in general terms that there is fighting at Novo-Yehorivka, and the Russians are the one conducting the assault. So basically, all Ukrainian sources are confirming that the Russians are making this push, which is entirely not reported by pro-Russian sources. So let's continue to watch and see what's the Russian forces plans, because I have made this analysis before, but given the speed of advance by the Russian side, it doesn't look like, it's very serious. They don't look serious about it. Over at Stemakivka region, we have a Ukrainian attack in this region here around Stemakivka. We haven't seen an attack by the Ukrainians in this sector since the 16th of August. So it has been 2 weeks already, and the Ukrainians are actually making some push in this area here. Probably skirmish. I don't expect too much from this area here. And we're moving up to the Kupiansk front. This is Kupiansk, and at the Kupiansk front, the Russian forces continue their Kupiansk offensive over at Sinkivka region towards Petropavlivka, and also at Khyslivka region. The one at Khyslivka region is reported by Ryba. They say that the Russian forces launched a new intensified offensive operation towards Ukrainian positions from the direction of Yakhidne. So this is Yakhidne, and accordingly, according to their mapping, it looks something like this. In between Ivanivska and Khyslivka. So most likely this is considered in the north of Khyslivka. And the last time the Russians tried this was on the 20th to 21st. Before that was on the 12th. So this looks like part of some sporadic attacks. I don't think this is something significant. And over at the main offensive line, which is around here, the Russians are still fighting for Petropavlivka, or at least towards Petropavlivka, according to Maroshinikov. Russian Defense Ministry continue to be vague about their offensive operations. So we have Maroshinikov, the pro-Ukrainian side, reporting exactly where. So they say in the area of Petropavlivka, Sinkivka, so at the Sinkivka region, we have reports from Surya maps that the fighting was in the north of Sinkivka, with the Russians pushing in this direction. I managed to capture a bit of forest around this area here. The Russian Defense Ministry simply mentioned about Ukrainian counterattack over at Sinkivka. Surya maps also reported that the Ukrainians counterattack. The counterattack mainly is at this junction. The Russians have control over this junction over here, east of Sinkivka, and the attack is basically the Ukrainians trying to recapture this junction, but so far no success over here. And Myroshchenikov simply mentioned about fighting in this region in a very general term, and that's all from the Kupiansk front. And did I miss anything? I believe I covered everything. So this is the SITREP, or the summary for the day of 552 for the 29th of August. Press the like button, subscribe, and have a good day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.